She's looking cruddy. Obviously, we've got problems with this one leaking all over the place. Anyone know what's wrong with that picture?
No, I'm not a writer. Okay.
Alright, back on the old crusty duster. Got the rear end pretty well buttoned up. Thought I videoed that. Nice new shiny rear cover on it. Ugly dirty rear end. Perfect. Now we're back to the brakes, and you can see the new line to the rear end, new lines in the front. Got our master cylinder. It was hard to find this guy. I could find manual brake ones and non-front disc brake ones, but to find a power disc brake master cylinder, yeah, that was kind of hard, which had me a little worried, because I'm pretty sure a bunch of these cars had that. So anyways, they didn't want a cord, but man, I tried to find one. That was the fun part. So I think what I'll end up doing is I'll take this one off, and I'll get a rebuild kit for it, because I'm sure it's not... It kind of worked and kind of didn't. I think it was the... Oh, was it the rear? Something's leaking in there. Because it wasn't horrible. I was able to put some fluid in it and got pedal ready to get right away. So we're just going to knock the lines off this thing. Try to anyways. So keep in mind, I don't live in the Rust Belt. And I've been soaking these fittings for weeks. So they should be nice and easy. Yep. Kind of the nice thing about living out here is I don't have to deal with the rust like some people do. Which I feel for you. It's got to be pretty rough. Probably so much as breathe on some of these steel lines and they just disintegrate into dust. But this stuff's getting old enough here, and of course now we salt our roads, so if you're driving this stuff around nowadays, yeah, they'll start getting and turn into a mineral deposit pretty quick. That's the way she goes. So you just work them off nice and easy. Okay. Let's see, those look like they're probably, yeah, half inch. Why Chrysler felt it was necessary to put 4 frickin' bolts or studs on these is beyond me. For one of these comes in nice and handy, especially when they've got 400-mile long threads. These wrenches are nice. Okay. Sometimes there'll be a bunch of fluid draining out of there. Sometimes not. You can definitely see where it was wet. You want to check this depth. This little gizmo here is actually for setting up Corvette style masters. And I've used it with my Ford ones and been fortunate with it too. However, with this stuff, we'll just call it stuff out here on the booster, I'm not sure. That to me would throw off the way this tool works, I think. So, I don't know if I can use this tool like I do with the others. But what I'll do is I'll stick a caliper in the end of that one and compare it with the one I took off. And if they're relatively, should be close. I don't see why they wouldn't be. Unless the aftermarket parts they use aren't correct. Which, yeah, it's probably common today with China. I'll clean that up a little bit too. That's kind of gross. I'll try it, but I don't think it's going to work the way I want it to. So, essentially, I'll have to do it with that bracket on there. Now the way this works is it's supposed to set the depth and then give you just enough fudge that there's a little free play. I just don't know if that works. See, I don't know. Let me loosen it up here. Well, it doesn't go any. It definitely won't go any further. So we'll try here. Go back to the booster with it. Is probably an eighth of an inch, maybe 3/16. I'll have to look it up in the book to see what that should be. But I mean, that's going. That's also with this not compressed fully. If I'm really pushed on it, I could probably get down to about an eighth of an inch, maybe. So I'll put a caliper on it and I'll measure the depth on each one of these and see what I come up with here. Okay, see if I can make this show up before my camera dies. So I have this fancy-dancy little digital deal. I had to play the dead battery game. I had to find it and all that crap. Anyways, zeroed out, which I had on this metal cabinet. See, zeroed out. It's kind of nice. You get it centered up in there. .920 was the reading I was getting consistently. 20 to 22. And it's the exact same measurement. I'm getting .922 on the other mass cylinder. So these are both exactly the same. So there was nothing wrong with the adjustment before. So I don't see there's any reason to change anything. Readjust that push rod or anything like that. So this method here, as long as you know what that gap is supposed to be on the booster side, this would work. Or better yet, if you can get yourself one. I got this off of Amazon. It's a Wixie. It wasn't very expensive. I've used it for a few different little other projects. It seems to work pretty good. I mean, it's plastic, but it seems to keep its readings quite well for what it is. It's a handy tool. You know, it's got a little. You can disconnect the little pointer pin. There's a little storage spot right here. I mean, it's as cheap as cheap gets, but it works. So, anyways, the depth here is the same as the other one. And, I mean, looking at this other one, she's looking cruddy. So obviously we've got problems with this one leaking all over the place. So the master cylinder was definitely the problem. And yeah, so we'll get this bench bled and get it thrown on the car. Most people tell you to bench bleed it. You just put it in the vise and just chuck it up in here, put a couple hoses in. I'll do the vise method by bench bleeding. Sometimes I put it straight on, and I don't know why you couldn't do it this way. As long as you don't hook your lines up and you just run lines back into the master cylinder. I've done it that way before, and it's really not a big deal. It actually works quite well doing it. I haven't done, well, let me take that back. I have done a couple with boosters, but I think some people say that the booster doesn't give you quite the full effect. I don't know about that. I've done them both ways. I don't see why you can't do it that way. So anyways, I'll do it in the vise just because. I still got to clean up that part. That I'll take that off the booster. I'll run it through my little blast cabinet, clean it up, make it look nice. You know, get all the brake garbage off of there. And then I'll probably do all this tomorrow. It's getting late. So we'll come back to this. I just wanted to do measurements and make sure things were the same. And it's looking like so. I don't know what the crazy deal is with these. Why they're so hard to attain. At least for right now, it was real hard getting that one there. So it's weird. Anyways, we'll get this bench bled tomorrow sometime, I hope. And then get it put on, get the lines hooked up. And then I got to find a poor soul to come out and run the brake pedal for me while I get the rest of the system bled. So anyways, we'll get back to this. Okay, we got our master cylinder. Just kind of, I don't have it in the vise. I don't try to put it super tight because I don't want to mess it up, but just enough to hold it still. And one of the things I noticed right off the bat, the second I cracked this thing open, of course, the way everything fits. There we go. Anyone know what's wrong with that picture? That's new out of the box, by the way. It's on upside down. So just because it's new doesn't mean it's right. This is the way it should be. So even though it's new, always double check how it's put together and double check its parts. So if you ever end up with one with it flipped over, this is the way it's supposed to be. That way it can, as the fluid level's drawn down, it'll suck these things down into it to fill the void. That's how they should be. So what we're doing a little bench bleed here. This is a real old setup used by my father for many years, and handed her on down to me. Apparently I do more of these things nowadays. I don't know if this is a reman. It might be a remanufactured master cylinder. It just, all I know is this particular one was hard to find. Got a brand new bottle of .3. The bottle's just dirty because I had made a mess in here. And the idea here is we're just going to run fluid back and forth until we get air out of the chamber, or the piston chamber. Now what I didn't show was these little fittings here. They come in the kit, and you just screw them in place of these little plugs that the master cylinder sometimes comes with. And that's basically, you could probably use old fittings and make some brake line to go in. They'd work just the same. So you can use an old screwdriver, or I just use a little nut driver. And it shouldn't take much pressure. Oops, sorry. See how it's got air bubbles? Finger tight isn't tight enough. And I really don't see any reason why you couldn't do this on the car if you so desired. Might even be a little bit easier. I'm gonna put a little more twist on it. Knock my cap off of there, apparently. Oh, it's on the floor somewhere, I'm sure. Okay. Very tiny little air bubbles. And these are just plastic fittings, so hopefully it's if there's any leaks, it's just like a cracked fitting. Hope it's not the master cylinder itself. Put a little more fluid in it. When you're doing this, the idea is to keep these tubes submerged. Otherwise, you'll just suck more air in. And you don't want that. Whoa. So there might be something to be said for doing it in the car. I just can't get a good grasp on this in the vise because I don't want to pinch down on it too hard. And I mean, I got a pretty good amount of the air out. What I might do is mount it up in there and try it again off the pedal and see what it does. I got a pretty good amount out of it. Oops, keep kicking the tripod with my big old feet. Yeah, see, I'm not really seeing anything now. Son of a gun. I'm not really seeing anything anyways, so. Yeah, I don't like clamping this thing down really hard. I'm sure you can understand why.
Idiot!
But I'm pretty well convinced. Yeah. I think we're good. I think we're good. So now it's got fluid in it, so it could very easily drain out. So you can very ever so carefully put it on just like it is and then throw your lines on real quick, or put plugs back in here to help keep the fluid not drain out while you're putting it on. I think I might have a couple screw-on ones that would be good enough to get it installed. That way it doesn't exactly make a mess everywhere. Well, I guess we're just going to make a mess everywhere. And let me tell you, this freaking brake fluid loves to destroy anything in its path. It does, it does, it does. What in the hell? Ah. I should have sealed it off. Oh, I'm playing the siphon game. Maybe that's what it was. There we go. Making a mess. I like doing brakes up until it's time to deal with fluid, because this stuff is nasty. And yeah, I know they make that, what was it, .4, or maybe it's .5. It's some kind of synthetic. However, I don't trust its braking abilities. And I actually do drive my crap, so the boiling points and stuff are much different. Lower from my understanding. As long as you don't let the well run dry, you'll be fine. That'd be good enough to get it onto the car, so it doesn't make any mess. I never not made a mess with this stuff. First, I'm going to throw a little more fluid in there because I know it's going to leak more when I go to hook the lines up. I don't want to do it empty. Because if you let this run down, you'll have to re-bleed it again. And this bale is tight, tight, tight. Okay. Alright, got you a better angle there. No rocket science here. And that's pretty much it. There's a couple different ways of bleeding them. Some guys open all the bleeder screws and let it gravity drain, or gravity bleed. I'll probably get some help and have someone help me bleed in the brakes. Pretty straightforward though, not a hard thing to do. Sometimes they can leak internally where they don't even show any evidence on the outside that their master cylinder is leaking internally, where it's bypassing between the two chambers. I've seen that happen before, but pretty simple task. Hardest part was finding the dang thing.